Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillahi wa ba'd. We previously discussed the final points of discussion regarding the matan. Then we also mentioned what the author, rahimahullah ta'ala, said regarding the isnad and how it's going to stop or where it's going to stop. It's either going to stop here or it's either going to stop there. Meaning the qa'il or the sahib al-hikaya, okay, or al-mahki anhu, the one who's being quoted in the matan, all right, the one whose statement is being mentioned in the matan, or whose action, etc. So starting off with the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, either it's going to be something that he directly or indirectly said or did or approved of, all right, something that the Prophet ﷺ said, this hadith he verbally said, something that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ did, or something that the Prophet ﷺ allowed the companions to do without repudiating them, proving that that act is permissible. Also, we have the issue of the description of the Prophet ﷺ, physical, moral, etc. He says, "Oh, hukman." If it isn't directly attributed to the Prophet ﷺ, then indirectly, okay, in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, we used to do this. The Quran was being sent down and we used to do this. We used to be commanded to do this. We used to be ordered to do that. And whether they say in the time of the Prophet ﷺ we were commanded or other than that. Okay, and that is something which is technically attributed to the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Khairan inshallah ta'ala. Many discussions regarding those issues. Next point he says, "Aw ila sahabi kadhalika." And if it doesn't stop at the Prophet ﷺ, then it will stop with the companions, the sahaba, meaning a statement of one of the companions, an action of one of the companions, or an allowance of one of the companions. Umar allowed the people to do this. Umar radiallahu anhu said that. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu did this. Okay? Obviously that is going to be called mawquf, as we've explained in al-Baykhuniyah and at-Tadhkirah. Al-Mawquf, al-Riwayah al-Mawquf, al-Hadith al-Mawquf, al-Athar al-Mawquf. Naam. Khairan inshallah. What is the legality of those statements of those companions, the actions of those companions? That's a discussion in Usul al-Fiqh. Moving forward, the author rahimahullah ta'ala discusses who is a companion. He says, وَهُوَ مَنْ لَقِيَ النَّبِيَّ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم مُؤْمِنًا بِهِ وَمَاتَ عَلَى الْإِسْلَامِ وَلَوْ تَخَلَّلَتْ رِدَّةٌ فِي الْأَصَحِّ. And the companion is someone who has the following qualities. The author, he now gives you the scientific and technical definition of a companion, a sahabi. The reason why he's doing this is, first and foremost, the scholars of Islam, they differ on who is and who is a companion, meaning the people that aren't well known, that came once or twice, met the Prophet ﷺ once or twice here or there. The companions and the basic usage of the term is clear. The Sahaba that were around him, that were with him, that believed in him, that supported him, that fought with him. The women that were with the Prophet ﷺ, their husbands were companions, their sons were companions, etc. That's well known. But the people that weren't as well known, or some of the men and women that may have had issues during, before, or after the time of the Prophet ﷺ, even though they actually had encountered the Messenger of Allah. Okay? And just the technical scientific definition in the science of hadith, to make it precise. The basic usage of the word companion is a bit different than the scientific definition in the sciences of hadith. And that's because when I say this one is my companion, i.e. it's my friend, someone that I know a bit more than just one encounter, someone that I know, and it doesn't just have to be a person who narrates from me. I saw him doing this, he did that, he said that. And then we have the concept of a traveling companion, or just being friendly to say someone. He says, "You, my friend, you should buy this. Yes, my friend. Okay? Or an associate, a close friend, a best friend, etc. He says that the following conditions. He says, number one, man laqiya Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, those who meet the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. Those who meet the Messenger of Allah alayhi salatu wasalam. Mu'minan bihi, as believers. They were believers. They were Muslims at the time of meeting the Prophet. وَمَاتَ عَلَى الْإِسْلَامِ, and their final stance was Islam. They died upon Islam regardless of what happened before that. وَلَوْ تَخَلَّلَتْ رِدَّةٌ فِي الْأَصَحِ. He says, even if there is an apostasy, if someone apostates, وَلِيَذُ بِاللَّهِ, after the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the person apostated for some time, but Allah Azza wa Jalla wanted good for him. Allah wanted good for him. And he made repentance before he died. And then he finally died upon La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. He keeps his companionship. He keeps it. He remains as a companion. Naam. Khairan inshaAllah ta'ala. The author, he says, regardless whether he apostated in the time of the Prophet ﷺ or after the Prophet ﷺ, meaning he met him as a Muslim, clear. Then he left Medina or left Mecca and reverted back to polytheism or Christianity. But before he died, he returned back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he was a Muslim, regardless whether he met the Prophet ﷺ again or not. Regardless whether he met the Prophet ﷺ again or not. What's important is that he met the Prophet ﷺ once in his lifetime. And it doesn't matter how long, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 days, 2 months, doesn't matter. Nor does it matter whether he saw the Prophet ﷺ or not. Some of the ulama, they say, man ra'a Nabi ﷺ, and obviously they're speaking about the majority. The Sahaba that were blind were the minority. But there were many great companions that couldn't see with their physical eyes. We know that their hearts could see. Allah says that their hearts go blind in the chest. But they had physical issues with their vision, or issues with their physical vision. Physically impaired with their vision, with regards to their vision. So anyone who came in contact with the Prophet ﷺ for a second, anyone who enjoyed that blessing as a Muslim, saying La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, as a Sahabi, as long as he died upon al-Islam. This is the view of Al-Hafidh Ibn Hajar, rahimahullah ta'ala. There were some people who met the Prophet ﷺ, and they were, unfortunately, they were forsaken and left to themselves. We know Ubaydullah bin Jahsh, for example, or Abdullah ibn Khatal. Some of these people who left Islam after they had entered al-Islam. Khairan inshaAllah ta'ala. Let's move forward. There are other issues that can be discussed regarding this, such as those who believed in the Prophet ﷺ before he was a messenger, before he was sent. قبل البعثة. That's a discussion. Before he was actually sent. Or those who met the Prophet ﷺ in the early days. Okay, etc. Let's move forward now. He then says, أو إلى التابعين وهو من لقي الصحابية كذلك. And if it doesn't stop at the Sahaba, then it will stop at the Tabi'een. And the Tabi'een are those who meet a companion in the same manner. In the same manner, meaning they meet the companion as a Muslim and they die upon al-Islam. طيب. Other issues that pertain to this definition is the concept of, do they have to study with one of the Sahaba and stick with them? Or is it sufficient just to meet one of them? The author, he holds the view that he just has to meet the companion. خلافا لمن اشترط في التابعي طول الملازمة أو صحبة السماء كذا صحة السماء قال أو صحبة السماء أو التمييز. نعم, regardless of how old they are, do they have to hear from them, learn from them, etc. نعم, خير inshallah ta'ala. Also, we know that the scholars of Islam regarding the Sahaba, the ulama of hadith, they deal with the concept of the levels of the Sahaba in two main methods. First is to place them on one level, and that's the level of suhbah. And the second is to put them on levels based off of when they accepted Islam, what battles they fought in, the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, the Muslims of Mecca, the conquest of Mecca, etc. Khairan inshallah. Also the young companions, people that were young, that met the Messenger of Allah ﷺ as young children. Are they considered companions? Is their hadith taken or not? Those are all issues pertaining to that last point. The Hafidh rahimahullah ta'ala then says, فَالْأَوَّلُ الْمَرْفُوعُ وَالثَّانِي الْمَنْقُوفُ وَالثَّالِثُ الْمَقْطُوعُ وَمَنْ دُونَ تَابِعِي فِيهِ مِثْلُهُ وَيُقَالُ لِلْأَخِيرَيْنِ الْأَثَرُ. He says, so the first type, or first category in which the chain stops is called marfu', the second is called manquf, the third is called maqtu', and those who are less than the companions as well, or those who are beneath the status of the tabi'een, not the companions, the tabi'een. And he says, and the last two things are called athar. The statement of the Sahaba is called athar, and the statement of the tabi'i, those after them, called athar. Khairan inshallah. We explained all of that in Al-Bayquniyya and At-Tadhkira as well. He then says, وَالْمُسْنَدُ مَرْفُوعُ صَحَابِيٍّ بِسَنَدٍ ظَاهِرُهُ الْاِتِّصَالِ فإن قل عدده فإما أن ينتهي إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أو إلى إمام ذي صفة علية كشعبته. فالأول العلو المطلق والثاني النسبي وفيه الموافقة وهي الوصول إلى شيخ أحد المصنفين من غير طريقه، وفيه البدل وهو الوصول إلى شيخه كذلك، وفيه المساواة وهي استواء عدد الإسناد من الراوي إلى آخره مع إسناد أحد المصنفين، وفيه المصافحة وهي الاستواء مع تلميذ ذلك المصنف، ويقابل العلو بأقسامه النزول. He then says, then we have the musnad. We have the musnad, and he's talking about the type of hadith here, and he's not talking about the type of book, the genre. Musnad Imam Abi Ya'la, Musnad al-Shashi, Musnad al-Bazzar. He's talking about the musnad of the actual naw' of hadith, of ulum al-hadith, and that is called the musnad. And it is a hadith in which a sahabi attributes to the Prophet ﷺ. A hadith, whether it's a statement or action, he attributes this hadith to the time of the Prophet ﷺ, to the Rasul himself, بِسَنَدٍ ظَاهِرُهُ الْاِتِّصَالِ, with a chain which apparently seems to be connected. A chain which apparently seems to be connected, meaning it could be hidden breakage, but ظاهر, outwardly, it's muttasil. There isn't no gaping hole in the chain, no clear lack of link. Alright? But it's 1, 2, 3 to the end, just like that. And the Sahabi to the Messenger. It's not the Tabi'i to the Messenger. It's Zahirul Ittisal. Naam? As we've explained as well in the Bayquniyya and At-Tadhkira. Khairan inshallah. Now he says here, he says, فَإِنْ قَلَ عَدُدُهُ, he says, with regards to the number of people in the chain of narration, the number of people in the chain of this musnad hadith. He says, if it stops with the Prophet, if it's marfu', if it's going back to the Rasul, he says, then it has a term. And if it goes to a great imam of hadith, then it has another term, meaning isnad contains a great champion, or this isnad goes back to the Prophet ﷺ with just a few men. So we have the concept of both of them being called Ali, Sanad al-Ali, Al-Hadith al-Ali, Al-Ulu, loftiness, Aliism, it's Ali, it's high up, it's high, as we explained as well in Bayquni and At-Tadhkirah. Al-Ali, that is pertaining to the Prophet ﷺ, that's called Al-Ulu al-Mutlaq. It's absolute ulu, absolute lofty, absolutely lofty. It's a very short number, 3 people between Imam Ahmad and the Prophet ﷺ. Al-Bukhari, mathalan. And then we have An-Nisbi, and that is restricted ulu, relative ulu, comparative ulu. Going back to one of the great Imams, he says, Kashu'bah, such as Shu'bah ibn al-Hajjaj. Khairan, inshallah. So that's an extra fa'idah, an extra benefit. We discussed the concept of ulu and nuzul, ali and nazil, and bayquni and tadhkirah. Here is a bit more. Even if it's just a small little, say, a pinch of salt, it has a big difference on the plate, on the taste of the dish. And that's how you study books. Every book that you study, one book from another, sometimes you may just want to make a second encoding of what you previously learned. And your brain has different waves and different frequencies. Sometimes you don't necessarily get it the first one, but you get it the second time. So here we have the you may take the same thing again in a different style, or you may take a different book that's a higher level and you get more. Even though you got the basic concept laid down already. If you understand Bayquni well or Tadhkirah well, that's you got the basic fundamentals of Ulum al-Hadith. But now you add some more things, some more garnishes to the plate. He then says here, and also concerning the concept of the number of men in a chain and how it ends, is that which is called al-muwafaqa. That which is called al-muwafaqa. And al-muwafaqa linguistically means to agree, mutual agreement. And what's meant by this is for a person to reach. He says, al-wusul ila shaykh ahd al-musannifin, is you go back to the teachers of one of the great hadith compilers. Your isnad reaches back to the teacher of one of the great hadith compilers, not from the route of that hadith compiler. Meaning, let's say for example, Imam Ahmad rahimahullah ta'ala, he reports from Abdurrahman ibn Mahdi. Abdurrahman ibn Mahdi. So that's the teacher of Ahmad is who? Is Abdurrahman ibn Mahdi. So I have an isnad that goes back to Abdurrahman ibn Mahdi, in which I have agreed with Ahmad. I've wafaqtuhu. Me and Ahmad are together. We're standing in the same place. Taken from Abdurrahman ibn Mahdi. But the thing is, the benefit, the subtlety, is that I didn't narrate from Imam Ahmad. I met up with him my own way. Okay? We met up at the same destination, but I took a different route. You took a highway and I took a different route. You took the tolls and I avoided the tolls, and we ended up in the same place. Muwafaqa. All right? Coincided together. So this is a subtlety of the concept of riwayah. And this is something that you're not necessarily going to find in the other books that we had studied in this way, like this. Khairan, inshallah ta'ala. He then says here, وَفِيهِ الْبَدَلِ وَهُ الْوُصُولِ. Then another one is called badal, which means substitute. And al-badal is going to the teacher of the teacher, the shaykh of Abdurrahman ibn Mahdi. Let's say, for example, mathalan, Shu'bah ibn Hajjaj or Sufyan, mathalan. That's the teacher of the teacher of Ahmad. Excuse me. Type. وَفِيهِ الْمُسَاوَاةِ. Then the next one is called al-musawah, meaning mutual equalities, equal, parallel quality. And that is, he says, وَيَسْتِوَاءُ عَدَدِ الْإِسْنَادِ مِنَ الرَّاوِي إِلَى آخِرِهِ مَعَ إِسْنَادِ, is that it has the same number of people between you and also the same number of people between the hadith compiler towards the end of the isnad. We have 6, he has 6. وهكذا. Also, we have al-musafaha, and that is for a person to join, literally meaning al-musafaha is shaking a hand, two people shaking hands. And that is going where the student of that hadith compiler is, his tilmeed, his disciple. I've met up with him, meaning we're shaking hands, taken from the same teacher. Okay, so this goes to show you how the science of hadith isn't all just da'if and sahih, and no, it's deeper than that. And there are many different points of expression of this art. Okay, and these different lata'if, these different subtleties, these different fancies and novelties that the scholars of hadith were fond of. Khairan inshallah ta'ala. So all of these things are from the study of the sciences of hadith. And I'm going to show you how precise and detailed it truly is. He says, وَيُقَابِلُ الْعُلُوَّ بِأَقْسَامِهِ النُّزُولِ. And the opposite of ulu, with all of its types, as we just explained, nisbi, mutlaq, etc., is that which is called nuzul, al-nuzul, as we explained in Tadhkirah and Bayquniyah as well. The sanad that is in Ali is nazil. If it's not 3 people, then it's 5, that's nazil and that's Ali. Moving forward. فَإِن تَشَارَكَ الرَّاوِي وَمَنْ رَوَى عَنْهُ فِي السِّنِّ وَاللُّقِي فَهُوَ الْأَقْرَانِ. He says, as far as if a narrator, he says, if the narrator is similar in age and similar to the teachers that he met and studied with, وَمَنْ رَوَى عَنْهُ, and the one that he narrates from, meaning the one who's narrating, the student, has the same age or the similar age, and also the same teachers or similar teachers than the one he's narrating from, the sheikh, then this is called al-aqran, riwayatul aqran. This is called riwayatul aqran, and that is when one person who's 25 years old and who studied in West Africa narrates from someone who's 24 years old, and that person studied in North Africa but he visited West Africa, and vice versa. They met teachers, they met different sheikhs. He went to Mali coming from Algeria, all right, and the one from Mali, he went to Algeria. He's 25, he's 24, and a 25-year-old narrates from the 24-year-old. Then that's called al-aqran. So this is another novelty in the science of hadith. And the reason why they give it a special mention for 2 reasons. First and foremost is that it is, as we said, it's a novelty, like twins. It's a rarity. How often do people have twins? Secondly, is because for no one to think that there is a problem, that is something which is flipped, or how can he narrate from in the same age, have the same teachers? How can he be his teacher? It could happen. Khairan inshallah ta'ala. And that also came in Bayquni and Tadhkir as well. He says, وَإِنْ رَوَى كُلٌّ مِنْهُمَا عَنِ الْآخَرِ فَالْمُدَبَّجِ. So the first concept is that the narration is only from one aspect. All right, not from both aspects. The 25-year-old narrated from the 24-year-old, period. The one who was in Algeria, he was 25 years old. He narrated from the 24-year-old in Mali. But they're of same age and of same teachers, similar. As far as if both of them narrate from each other, they trade riwayah. The 24-year-old is the teacher, and one day the 25-year-old is the teacher. If they trade narration back and forth, then that is called al-mudabbaj. Al-mudabbaj, as we took in the previous books as well. Al-mudabbaj, coming from, and obviously the word aqran, we never explained in English, qareen, a friend. Aqran, tayyib. He says here, al-mudabbaj, which literally means the cheeks of the face, both sides of one's face. They're similar. They're similar. If you have high cheekbones on one side, on one high cheekbone, you have on the second side as well. In most cases, similar. Yeah, a person has chubby cheeks, red cheeks, whatever the case may be, it's going to be similar on both sides. So that's where it is extracted and derived from. And the purpose behind this, just as before, is it's a novelty, and it's also a concept of precision and not allowing a person to be confused or mixed up, thinking that something's wrong, that there's a mistake in the name. No, the student and the teacher and the student go back and forth in similar of age. He then says here, وَإِنْ رَوَى عَمَّنْ دُونَهُ فَالْأَكَابِرُ عَنِ الْأَصَاغِرِ وَمِنْهُ الْآبَاءُ عَنِ الْأَبْنَاءِ وَفِي عَكْسِهِ كَثْرَةٌ وَمِنْهُ مَنْ رَوَى عَنْ أَبِيهِ عَنْ جَدِّهِ. He says here, also from this, or the next point, is that when a person narrates from someone who's younger than him, and what's meant by younger than him in most cases is meaning like a lot younger, but the sheer fact of younger, okay? The concept of the 25 and the 24-year-old could be applicable, whereas they don't have to be of the same exact age. But if one wants to be technical, we say they're both 25 years old, no problem. And he says here, if someone who's younger, he's narrating from someone who's younger, and what's meant by that in most cases is that it's a good amount of age. A good amount of age. And not just a year. Okay? But he's old and he's young. That's the lub. That's the flesh of the orange. That's what's meant. Someone who's really younger. Someone who's older by a good amount of years, narrating from someone who's younger than him. Then that is called al-akabir an al-asagir. Riwayatul akabir an al-asagir, which we took in a tadhkirah. We took this in a tadhkirah. Al-akabir is the plural of kabir, and asagir is the plural of sagir. The purpose behind this is just like before. It is a novelty, it's a specialty, and it is a means of no one to think that it's something wrong with the chain of narration. Someone will think that it's maqloob. How can this sheikh is known to be 50, his teacher was someone who was 20? No, it's the exact opposite. No, it's not. The 50-year-old did narrate from the 20-year-old. A branch of this, a subdivision of this, is the narration of fathers from sons. The narration of fathers from sons, i.e. the son is the teacher, he's the master, and the father is the apprentice. Whether he studied with him for a long time, or whether it's just one hadith, one narration. And the hadith culture, if you narrate from a person one hadith, he is your sheikh. He is your sheikh. He says, وَفِي عَكْسِهِ كَثْرَةٌ, and there's an abundance of this on the opposite side, meaning fathers or sons narrating from their fathers. That's very abundant. And obviously, so a student, a son, learning from his father, studying, taking the path of his father. That's abundant. And the exact opposite is relatively scarce. He says, وَمِنْهُ, and also included in this is the narration of someone narrating from his father, from his grandfather, meaning as a family chain. A family chain. There's a son who narrates from his dad, who narrates from his granddad. A son who narrates from his father, from his grandfather. All in one isnad, a family chain. Khairan inshaAllah ta'ala. And all of these different novelties and subtleties here, the scholars of hadith, they either wrote separate books on each topic, or they spoke about it and they gave examples and mentioned the names, and the general books of Al-Rijal, Tarajim, and the bigger books of Al-Mustalah, which are based off of the books of Tarajim. Khairan inshaAllah ta'ala. وَإِنْ اشْتَرَكَ اثْنَانِ عَنْ شَيْخٍ وَتَقَدَّمَ مَوْتُ أَحَدِهِمَا فَهُوَ السَّابِقُ وَاللَّاحِقُ. Next point is that if there are two people who narrate from one scholar, two students, two apprentices narrating from one master, and one of those two apprentices, he dies. تقدم. He dies a while before the other one dies. Then that is called as-sabiq wal-lahiq. As-sabiq wal-lahiq. We have two students. They narrate from one teacher, and then there's a great amount of time between the death of one of them from the other. Now, okay, and this is very important here with regards to history, as we said before, like white on rice. Ilm al-hadith and history go hand in hand. Death, birth, etc. Geography in ilm al-hadith, like white on rice, go hand in hand. Kufa, Basra, Mosul, Baghdad, Wasit, the different regions and parts of Iraq go hand in hand. Khairan, inshallah ta'ala. This is where we'll stop today. And we ask Allah Azza wa Jal for fiqh fi deen, firmness thereupon, and allow us to make us true disciples of hadith. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.